Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Graham Noble, Scott Cosenza, Tim Donner, and Joe Schaefer. And this is Liberty Nation's online news program. The coming Democrat apocalypse. It appears there will be a new member of the U.S. Supreme Court, if not by Election Day, then certainly by Inauguration Day, despite threats from Democrats that they will rain down hell on the GOP if they forge ahead. But for once, it appears like the Republicans aren't backing down. Joe, I'm calling this segment the coming Democratic apocalypse because that's all the rhetoric regarding the Supreme Court. I mean, they say they want to pack the court, pack the Senate, blah, blah, blah. But the GOP is sort of acting like sticks and stones for once, and they aren't listening.
Well, I think they are listening, actually, and I think they're going to love what they're hearing. It's going to be music to their ears. It's a tropical storm right now gathering in the ocean, and Republicans just want it to turn into hurricane lunacy. The Democrats doing what they do, overreacting, over-emotional, turn it into a big circus. And Joe Biden doesn't want this. Joe Biden is running away from this. He's trying to pivot to the center. He's Scranton Joe the populist. He dissed the Bernie bros the other day, saying, I beat the socialist. He doesn't want to be pulled to this lunatic left that was on display in the primary process. So for Republicans, I mean, seems like a perfect setup. They've got the votes, and it's like, Democrats, get on stage and do what you do and alienate mainstream America. It seems like a winning formula for Republicans.
You know, it seems like the left pretty much realizes the seismic shift in the court that's going to happen when we get a new justice to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And think about it. A new justice to the court will establish a 6-3 conservative majority for as far as the eye can see. This nominee could be in place for 40 years. And compare that to losing to Donald Trump for the left, where they're only out of power in the White House for another 4 years. You could make an argument, and I think the left, the way they're fighting, is in their minds saying to themselves, 40 years from this justice is arguably even worse than 4 more years of Trump. That's how significant this appointment really is.
Well, it's only arguable, Tim, if you have the Trump derangement syndrome. It's definitely worse from a leftist policy perspective to have replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg with a pro-market type jurist. It's a death knell for them, and that's why they're fighting so hard.
You know, as I wrote a couple of days ago in Liberty Nation, I really believe from the bottom of my heart, if you like, that this will be the final straw for Democrats if Trump gets his next Supreme Court nominee, which I'm assuming that he was going to get that. And I think it's going to be the last straw. And I think the Democrats will look to stack or pack, whatever term you want to use, the Supreme Court. But of course, they need the political power to do that. And so it may be quite a while. After replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they're going to decide that the only way that they can get control of the ideological control of the court is to pack it at the first opportunity.
They have no one to blame but themselves, because the way they tried to torpedo Brett Kavanaugh in a fight that really they weren't going to win and wasn't that significant because it only moved a center-right leaning court a little bit more to the right. Whereas this one, if they'd held their fire for this nomination, they might have something. But because of what they did to Kavanaugh, their shameful performance in the Kavanaugh confirmation proceedings, they lost 2 more seats in 2018, so that the Republicans went from 51 to 53 seats. And now with Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski saying they're not in favor of a vote, if the Republicans still only had 51, there would be no vote before the election. So that's the consequences of the Democrats' own action and writ large, their refusal to accept the outcome of the 2016 election.
All right, but did anybody sense there was kind of a small shift when Romney said, I'm going to take a vote here, that the Democrats kind of went from whining loudly to, do I sense a little bit of resignation there?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you, Lisa. I think there's a little bit of a kind of a sigh of defeat there. I think they were counting on Romney. And I've heard rumors that also Senator Murkowski is also possibly wavering on this issue as well. And she might give in. And I'm not entirely sure that Susan Collins is going to hold out and stand against a Trump nominee either.
Well, I think it's possible that Collins is a solid, but I think you're right. I think Murkowski could change things. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I'm just saying it sounds like you all think Democrats may be reasonable here. And I'm saying they just can't control themselves. Logic doesn't come into play. Everything's the end of the world. Everything's democracy's dying, gloom and doom. And I don't think they can control themselves. I think they're going to do it.
I'm not sure that it's a case of them saying, oh, well, okay, we'll let this one go. I think they just realize that they really don't have anywhere to go on this issue.
What they really want is just to change the subject to some degree at this point for the very reasons that Joe just stated. They don't have the votes. It's all about the math, and the math doesn't work for them because once Mitt Romney, and how ironic is that Mitt Romney would deliver with his assent to holding a vote before the election, would deliver the majority that Trump needs to get this nominee through the high court. Mitt Romney, the most Trump-deranged member of the Republicans in the Senate.
Yeah, and Scott, what's the deal with the war on Catholics? I mean, speaking of the apocalypse, I mean, if you're Catholic, they're just ready to go after you, hammer and tong.
Sadly, Lisa, many Americans do not like the fact that the Supreme Court is populated by Catholics and Jews at levels that way outpace their position in society.
Yeah, well, my 2 cents is that the Democrats whine and loudly object, but they don't seem to understand that if they want to run the show, they need to win an election. I mean, when was the last time they held the Senate? It was, I think, 2014. Then they lost the presidency to Trump in 2016. That's not the GOP's fault. That's their problem. And in a republic, the one with the most votes holds the reins of power, period. All this frustration and vitriol from the left reminds me of the kid in the class who complains when he got an F on his math test and blames it on his teacher because he didn't bother to study.
If I could just say really quickly, because I think it's an important point, is that this is who they are. This is what gives them meaning and identity as a party, is rabidly opposing fascism, Trump, this right-wing extremism. That is everything they are. So how can they not do that with the cataclysmic event that is a Supreme Court justice? They have to do it because that is what they are.
They've created their own circumstances. They've created their own demise in this matter by the way they've handled the result of the 2016 election. They've become so deranged that they cannot see the forest from the trees, and so they react the way children react. They're saying that because Trump won when he shouldn't have, and because Ruth Bader Ginsburg died when she shouldn't have, then we're going to just change all the rules and tear down the system and pack the court and end the Senate filibuster and make Puerto Rico a state and all of this stuff. I mean, I can't believe that this kind of childish reaction is lost on the voters.
Tim, you have to put into the mix there that most of that, I think, if not, well, at least a lot of it is just for fundraising. So if you are a person who can fundraise off of woe betide us as the future of the Supreme Court, unless you write a check for abortion rights or reproductive freedom, whatever they call it, I'm sure the checks are rolling in like you cannot believe at all these places.
Yeah, they are. They've reported that.
Keeping that fever pitch up, is good for the bottom line.
that's it for the Conservative 5. Thanks for tuning in. And remember to check out libertynation.com. Subscribe to our popular conservative daily news briefing. Join our new Roku channel. And now we have a Rumble page where this program can be seen along with all our other TV shows. And remember, liberty all the time and everywhere.
Extra, read all about it.
Election 2020 Big Bottom Flash Reports are coming. On election night, at the bottom of every hour, LibertyNation.com will give you Election Night 2020, 90 seconds at a time, with our Big Bottom Flash Reports. You'll get the drop with our one-stop shop. We'll shed the light on Fight Night. Tune into LibertyNation.com on election night for our Big Bottom Flash Reports at the bottom of every hour. 90 glorious seconds for everything you need to know without the spin.